Hi, I'm Dawn. Welcome back to my channel. I would like to talk about a few things today. Um, I'll turn 64 here in a few months, and I have been doing a lot of thinking because this will be my last year before I retire. I am determined that I'm retiring at 65 no matter what. And so this is my last year to work, and I've been reflecting on some things a little bit because of that. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the things that I wish I had known and understood a little bit better when I was 34 that I understand now at almost 64. The first thing I would have done different is to focus more on family more than I focused on my career, particularly in the last 20 years. I have worked for the same company for the last 22 years and done the same kind of work for the last almost 25 years, and it's been a good career for me. But in the last, I would say, 10-15 years, I was more focused on moving up or attaining those managerial type positions than I was on just being satisfied in what I was doing at the time. So I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I devoted all of my energy into doing that and often didn't have a whole lot left by the time my work day was over or my work week was over. And I just wish that I had focused more on spending time with my kids. Believe me when I say that it really is just a blink of an eye and your kids are going to be grown. My youngest is 30 and my oldest will be 39 this year. So it's hard to, I don't know where the time went, but I really wish that I would have put more time into spending time with them, especially focusing on those younger years and building more memories and spending more time with them rather than putting so much energy into my career. Because I'll tell you what, when I retire in a year, I'm going to be done with all of that. Moving forward, I hope to have grandchildren someday. And the lesson I hope I've learned is that I'll spend time with them, make memories with them, and focus on them, along with my sons too. The next thing is I really wish I would have started saving more money and having less debt, so more savings in general. It's hard. Even though I'm a nurse and I've had a good career, a lot of the things, the career paths that I've chosen were not the ones that necessarily were the highest paying. I got out of the hospital scene. I got out of the hospital scene pretty early and started working as a school nurse. Now, if there's anybody that was paid less than the teachers, it was the school nurse. And even though I had a bachelor's degree in nursing, there was no compensation for that. And it was good. I learned a lot and I enjoyed it. It was nice because I did have some time off in the summers. I often did have to work in the summer, but I had some time at least off in the summers to spend with my family. But we really didn't start saving or have continued to save. And I find looking back that I just spent money on silly things, on cars, on vacations I will never regret because those were memory building times with my family. We've been to Disneyland. We've been on a couple of cruises. We've done things like that. Nothing outlandish or crazy, but we have had some vacations that I will never begrudge the money spent in those areas. But it's the day-to-day stuff. I really wish that my husband and I had concentrate on saving more, setting more aside during our younger years, particularly in those working years. The next thing is I really wish that I had not been so afraid of friendships. I'm an introvert. I like my little world and I don't reach out often, and it's hard for me to make friends. Part of the reason for that is that I had a very close friend through the end of high school and then through college. And then there was just a kind of a falling away that I don't feel comfortable getting into that really broke my heart. And ever since then, and this has been 30 years ago, ever since then, I have not had a close female friend. I just have been afraid to get too close to anyone because I didn't want to go through that again. But what I've realized in the last few years is that if I had maybe opened myself up to that, opened myself up to some friendships, that maybe, yes, I would have taken the risk of experiencing hurt, but what did I miss out on because I didn't develop those friendships? So for the past year or so, I have been trying. I've been putting myself out there. I've been trying to make some friends at church and trying to find some friendships that will last into hopefully the next several years of my life. It's hard for me to share and it's hard for me to open up. So those are some things I'm focusing on now. The next thing, and this may sound a little bit weird, but feeling like I needed to be somebody. Growing up, I just had, and I don't know where it comes from because it didn't necessarily come from family pressure or anything like that, but I kind of grew up, and I think it was because I was so driven to do well in school and make good grades and get the scholarships and do well in college and get a good job. You get the point there, that I felt like I needed to be somebody, that I needed to really make a huge difference or impact on the world. And I put a lot of pressure on myself to do that. But what I've realized as I've gotten older is the impact that I made are on the small groups of people that are in my life, on my kids, with my husband, on my church family. Those kind of impacts are what is truly important, at least in my opinion. Will I change the world? No. But maybe it's that time that I spent impacting the lives of my sons, and hopefully carrying on in further generations that will make a difference. The next thing is to use my talent. One of the things that I love to do is I love to teach. In my current role in my job, I work with a group of case managers who are not medical. They're case managers, they're social workers, but a group of people that we work with are medically compromised. So the thing that gets me going, the thing that lights my world is when I get to provide education and training to those case managers. I get to sit down and teach them about a disease process, help them understand so that when they're out taking care of those folks, they understand a little bit better the medical component that's leading to the other needs that they have. So I really want to do more of that. I've actually been going to school, of all things, the last 5 years or so. Well, it's been less than that, the last 2 years. I'm working on a biblical teaching certificate. I've got 2 more classes to take, and I'm eating that up. I love it. I've taken Old Testament History 1, New Testament 1 and 2. I've taken a class on learning how to do research, which is important if you're going to be doing any teaching. And I still have the other half of the Old Testament class and a teaching practicum to take. So, and those 2 I'll get done in the next year. But that's kind of a bunny trail. But anyway, I really hope that I find ways to use my love of teaching, my love of sharing information with those that I work with for this last year, and maybe for those that I just have a chance to spend time with going forward, that maybe I'll have some chance to do some teaching. Lastly, and it's number 6, which, like I said, there's no rhyme or reason to this. I wish that I had concentrated more on my faith. I grew up towards the later end of my young life, so 5th grade on, grew up in a Christian home. Saw a lot of changes in my family's life from the time when I was really young until that change happened in our lives. I saw a lot of positive changes come to be. But for a lot of years, like all through elementary school, junior high, high school, even into college, I was kind of skating by on what I had been taught about my faith rather than what I looked and learned on my own. And so for the last year and a half, I have been working more on that, and I wish I had started those explorations younger, like into my 20s and 30s, rather than waiting till now. There's always time, and I do feel like I'm growing more spiritually than I have the rest of my life, so I'm looking forward to that. Do you have things that you kind of wish you could go back and tell your 30 years ago person, yourself? If so, put those in the comments for me. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen in on my walk down memory lane and how I wish I would have changed maybe things earlier, or things I wish I had concentrated on. And I hope that you have a blessed day. Bye.